I'm back in the perennial garden, where in last week's vlog I said that the weeds like these dandelions and docks are a problem, and I have started to remedy that. In this bed there is an absence of dandelions and docks because they have all been removed, and as a no-dig gardener I need to deal with the rest of the weeds, and the way I've been doing that is using a layer of cardboard and then covering with compost. So that's my job for the rest of this morning, is to get the rest of this bed finished. Let's start with using some of this card that I've already removed the sellotape from. It's already partially. I'm going to lay this out around the plants that are already here. This needs a really good soak through and then covering in compost. I've also bought some ericaceous compost for me, and that's because I've some blueberries and I shall pop some compost around those. Although this one over here I'm sure I've lost. Kept getting eaten all the leaves off by the sheep last year and it never recovered, and then the winter was warm and wet, so I think I've lost that one. Okay, well I am going to go and get more compost and finish this off. We'll take a look when I'm done. I think you'll agree that already looks much better. Now everything has been planted out in space for when it's fully grown, and clearly it's not, and I do have a couple of gaps where I've lost 2 blueberry bushes, but everything is still in its first year, so there's plenty of space here. I can also plant annuals to fill out those spaces. Now the next job I have to do is in the annual vegetable garden, where I plan on doing some direct sowing. I'm starting a collaboration with Growing with Stella, and we are both recording the different methods that we use to direct sow throughout the year. Here is a message from Stella.
Hello Joe, I'm actually doing this video just after work because I received your video, and thank you so much for the invitation to join with you in a collaboration where we're actually going to be working to show everyone what we're direct sowing throughout the season. The reason we're doing this is because we're both out of space, out of time. I know you're limited in what you can actually do because of the fact that you have a lot of little animal babies to look after and big animal babies to look after. And as a result, you're struggling for time to look after seedlings. As for myself, I'm out of space, as my video will show, and therefore what I'm going to be doing is doing a lot more direct sowing, following nature and following the times when we should actually be growing what we need to grow outdoors rather than actually starting it indoors and struggling with the overwhelm of maintaining such plants until the season warms up for us. So guys, check out Joe's videos, check out my videos, and if you're struggling with the same problems, why not join us in this season by sowing direct?
Do check out Stella's videos also. You can find that linked in the description below. Now on to my sewing. So unfortunately my lovely microphone I'm wearing there did not work, so I'm going to voice over this. Here I am explaining that I am going to use 2 methods here to direct sow. The first being station sowing. Now for this planting today I have just 6 milk jugs, so I have selected 6 crops which I am going to direct sow today. First job is popping the spikes through the edge of the milk carton. Now do take care with this, as you will see in a second. Even though it's quite a simple task, I wasn't very careful, and I think probably on the first or second milk carton that I do, you'll see in a minute, I actually catch myself with the pointy end of the landscape staple and cut my finger. So once I finished this job, I popped off very quickly to put a plaster and a glove on that cut finger because it was bleeding quite a lot and I didn't want to get dirt in the cut. So now I'm going to begin sowing the seeds. I'm just laying them out in a random order, trying to make it so not anything is related to each other, is next to each other. So the perpetual spinach and the beetroot are related, so I've made sure those are apart, and I've tried to give some space between the root type vegetables. Now the first thing I'm popping in are the turnips. Now they are quite a small seed and they don't need to be sown very deep. They just need a tiny bit of covering so that they don't blow away. I want to press down with my jug so that I can see my sowing area, sprinkle them in the area, just 2 or 3 in 3 little spots, press them down firmly into the soil, give them a nice watering in, cover them over ever so lightly so they don't blow away, and then fasten down my jug. Now the sole purpose of this jug is to mark where my sowing stations are and also to try and keep the slugs off the freshly germinated little seedlings because they have been popping up and then vanishing very quickly. Next up are the perpetual spinach, and they are quite large seeds, so they're also related to the beetroot, so I'll make sure I not plant them next to the beetroot. And it's a very small sowing area, so I am just making 5 little tiny holes. I'm putting 5 individual seeds in there, and I can thin out later should they all germinate and it gets too crowded. And I've dipped the holes about 1 centimetre deep, and then I'm covering those over, and again they get a good water in and then they get covered with the jug. These are the parsnips going in, and I'm going to put 5 little stations, and I'm going to put 2 to 3 seeds in each little hole in case some don't germinate, and again I will thin if too many germinate or they're too close together. I'm working on the idea that not all of them will germinate and some of them may still, even in the jugs, get munched, so I'm over sowing to thin later on. And parsnip seeds, I'm dipping the hole about 1 centimetre deep again, popping them in the holes, giving them a good water, covering over, and then putting the jug on the top. Next come the beetroot seeds. Now a beetroot seed has multiple plants or multiple seeds in one little seed, so you just need to put 1 in each station, and then you still may need to thin. I've put in about 4 or 5 there so I can thin again later. They are a large seed, so again they need to go down about 1 centimetre deep. They need a good watering in and putting the jug on the top. These are spring onions. They also went down about 1 centimetre, but I used plenty of seeds and quite large stations because they will happily grow in a great big bunch. Last but not least are the Autumn King carrots. Now I've dipped the holes and I am pre-watering before I put the seed in. Carrots are absolutely notorious for needing a lot of moisture when they germinate, and they absolutely cannot dry out. If they dry out, it stalls the germination process and they probably won't restart. This is another benefit, I think, of having these jugs as cloches over the top, because I think that'll hold in some of the humidity and help the carrots to germinate. So I'm really excited to see how this works. So the carrots have gone in, they've been pre-watered, and they're going to get another watering again as well before I put the cloche on the top. Here I'm explaining that I have just 6 milk jugs at the moment, but as I collect more I will put rows of milk jugs in front of that and continue to sow the same 6 varieties but in a different order to muddle them up to keep my polyculture going. Now I've arranged these seeds again in the same order I planted the jugs. I've laid them out, but this time I'm going to be sowing them in drills, long lines, but running across the bed, so the drills are quite short. So So still keeping with the polyculture theme where they're all growing together in small amounts to try and hide the crops from predators. I hope you come back and check in to see how these things germinate and how we get on and what gets sown next.